Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Marg Grzanek, Family Engagement Coordinator at Stevenson High School, and I'm so happy to welcome you. Today, we are going to talk about how you, as the adult in your teen's life, can help them notice the good things that are happening in their lives. Like, there's been a lot of talk over the last, I don't know, almost 2 years now of, this is bad and the pandemic and bad and bad and bad. And that can really bring a person down. And there's a lot of talk about stress and how much stress teens are going through. And they are going through stress. This discussion is not to minimize anything that our teens have gone through or anybody has gone through over the last couple of years. But there are a lot of studies that show if we talk about the good things in our lives, if we sit around and say, what was the best thing that happened to you today? If we think about how we think about our days and what we go through when we acknowledge the good things that happen in our lives, then we're more likely to pay it forward. And it actually has positive benefits for us as people. So we can then all live in a more appreciative and supportive environment. So finding good things in your life is actually a habit of mind. It's not to say that when bad things happen, you brush them under the carpet, or you don't acknowledge them, or you don't deal with them. What it is saying is that you actively make a practice of acknowledging, finding, and talking about good things, because that will have big impact on your mindset. And what a great gift we can give our teens if we start talking about that with them and be a little bit more overt. So the first thing I want to talk about is being grateful. How grateful. It's like the appreciation for what you receive, whether it's tangible or intangible. It's not about like, hey, look at the stack of things I just got. It's those intangible things as well, like to have a gracious heart or have a regular expression of gratitude. It really helps. It even helps people with anxiety disorders to be able to call out the things that they're grateful for. Our teens can be very moody, and it can be very hard to talk to them because they're snarky and they have a quick comeback. But that's because they are trying to navigate becoming adults. They're trying to figure out, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm starting to make some larger decisions in my life. And how am I supposed to make those decisions? And who around me is there to help me? And that can feel really overwhelming. But if we are helping them sort of find the gratitude, or we are exemplifying gratitude for them, and we keep it super simple when we talk to them, wow, that was a really nice thing that they did, just calling out the nice things that happen. They may not acknowledge it to you, but they hear you. And they hear you saying, hey, that was a really nice thing. You don't have to have this big, full, drawn out discussion about it, but to acknowledge gratitude, to acknowledge what's happened, to say thank you, to make your connection simple and direct and not emotionally complicated and not judgmental. Hey, thanks so much for doing that. They may go, so what? But they hear you. They hear you and they see you acknowledging the good things that are happening. The other part of acknowledging good things is being altruistic. And that is just acknowledging, or the practice of being selfless and having concern for others. You can demonstrate altruism in a lot of different ways. Some families in November, because it's Thanksgiving and it's sort of like a non-religious holiday, but it's just sort of a thankfulness time, they do things for their community. Some people just write notes to people, to their mailman, or to the the people that help with refuse around, or to anybody that helps out, just to say thank you, or to think about what can I do for others to make their lives a little bit easier. Picking up someone's newspaper and putting it by their door, or taking someone's garbage cans in, something like that. Because doing that kind of compassion actually raises your mood. It increases your mood. Doing for others makes you feel better. Studies on it. So They have like all these studies on people who volunteer, how they actually are healthier and have a better mindset, because what happens is you get something called the helper's high, which makes you feel good that you've done something good for someone else. Volunteer work really, really positively impacts people with depression or anxiety. Teens are happier when they're active and involved and they have some usefulness outside of sort of like, going to class, I'm doing things. And when you volunteer, you have to work with other people and you have to learn to work with other people and a diverse number of people, diverse set of people. So what happens is you become a little bit more socially competent because you're forced to work with people in a situation that is not like, oh, we all have to be here and be in class. It's in a situation where you're doing good, right? So you're getting that helper's high, but you're also sort of trying to work collaboratively with other people. It's a really good way to increase social skills if that's something you're working on with your team. So being altruistic. Another thing is practicing gratitude. So there was a study. So a lot of people say, keep a gratitude journal. Our kids are really, really busy. And now that the pandemic is over, I don't know how anybody else feels, but I feel like, wow, did we do this all the time? Is this the way we were so busy? But we're all super busy. So finding time to stop and write down in a journal long things may be a limiting factor. However, to acknowledge 3 good things that happen to you every day actually has a positive impact on you. Another study, they asked teens, write down 3 things about your day. They asked another group of teens, write down 3 good things about your day. The teens that wrote the good things were happier, reported being happier than the teens that just wrote 3 things. So a gratitude journal actually helps you acknowledge the good things that are happening and sort of pulls you out of that like, oh, everything's bad. I'm just so stressed and I've got so much to do. And that's right. You know what? That's not going to mitigate or minimize the amount of things to do, but it's the way you look at them, right? If you look at like, hey, I can do this. I can get through this week. This is a lot of work to do, but hey, who's around to help me? What can I do? Your mindset plays such a big role in how you look at how you're doing things. And that's one of the things that we can do. We don't have to ask our teens to write it down in a journal. We can just look at them and say, hey, tell me about something that happened. You know what? Tell me about something good that happened. When you're having a conversation with your team, tell me one thing that good that happened today. And what else happened that was good? It doesn't have to be, no, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about 3 good things. You don't have to do that. You can just have it in the conversation that you're having with your team. So you can talk about being grateful for things and having a good mindset. You can, now, before we start talking about any more of this, we need to remember we're talking about teens. We're talking about teens who are trying to figure out what kind of adults they want to be. So developmentally, they're pulling away from you, right? They're already kind of pulling away from you. But over the next few weeks, we're going to have a lot of opportunities to sit down with our teens and say, you know, having grateful time, whether it's through a holiday or Thanksgiving or family time, you know, just to ask them things like, who's the most important person in your life and why? It doesn't have to be you. This is time for you just to let them talk and think about what they're grateful for. Think about what they're happy. It may be their best friend. It may be their best friend. It may not be you. It may not be the person you think has the most impact on it, but that's okay because they're developing and they're kids and they should be able to own those feelings for themselves. You may say to them, who's the most important person in your life that I don't know? And take all the judgment out of it and let them just tell you and ask them why. Or who's the person that's had the most influence on you other than people in this house? Why? Or what brings you the most joy in life? Outside of a conversation around what classes are you going to take? Or, well, you could do it around, let's talk about your future. What brings you the most joy? What are you really good at? What are you really proud of? Those great conversations, and then sit back and let them tell you. Let them tell you what they're super proud of. No judgment. No, but you do this, but you do that. No, it's their decision. It's their conversation. You can build so much trust with them by just letting them tell you how they're feeling and modeling gratitude, being grateful for things. Catch them doing something that you are appreciative for. They're teenagers. They may not do a lot that we're appreciative for, but that shoe might get picked up from the front door, or they may actually put a fork in the sink or their dishes in the sink. They may actually let the dog out or take the dog for a walk. Find reasons to say thank you. Find reasons to say thank you. If they smiled at you, if they were super pleasant at dinner, wow, dinner was really great. Thank you so much for coming with an open attitude to dinner. This is so nice, because that fills them up. That gives them that feeling of like, oh, I can make a nice positive difference. You may not see the difference right away, but you're just building those building blocks, right? You're just building those building blocks. When they go through a difficult experience, or when we go through a difficult experience, to talk about, wow, what did I learn from that? Where did I come from? What new things can I learn from what happened to me? Is a really good thing to help your teens remember that even through the tough times, we learn positive things. Even through the times when we all go through it, and you're just sitting there thinking, I don't know how to get through the next minute. But at the end of it, to say, wow, that was really tough, but this is what I learned from it, and have that explicit conversations with your teen is really good, because it helps them think differently about the situations that they're in. So there's opportunities at Stevenson for your teen to get involved in kind of volunteer activities, or in service clubs, or anything like that. So what I wanted to do was, I wanted to point out this page around service is under student life, in student activities, and I'm going to click on that so you see where that is. This is the student activities page, right? And then when you go under clubs, right here under clubs, and you go past, these are PDF documents. They're like digital catalogs. But if you go all the way down, you'll see clubs by type. You'll see art, career, competition. If you go all the way down, you'll see that there's service clubs at Stevenson. And then when you go to those service clubs, you can click on any of those clubs, and you'll see what kind of service they do, when they meet, who the leader of that club is. So I just clicked on Catalyst. Here's a picture of some kids that are in Catalyst. It meets Thursday before school. What you need to be doing to be a member of that club, who the sponsors are of that club, and like whether or not they have a website. Okay. I also wanted to talk to you about something that's happening this week. Let's Talk About Your Future Night is on Wednesday. You're going to hear a lot about Let's Talk About Your Future Night. It's the kickoff for course selection, and there is a page under academics for course selection. And when you go click on under academics, the academics page to course selection, you'll see this. This little video is about Let's Talk About Your Future Night. The other thing is, I sat down with the people doing Let's Talk About Your Future, and I interviewed them. So I found out under here, I'm going to just not play it. I found out about Let's Talk About Your Future Night too. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put that in our chat box for those of you who have joined me live. And here you go. So it's on the Stevenson High School Family Engagement YouTube page, but you can also go under course selection, and you can read about Let's Talk About Your Future Night. It's a really good time when we were talking about having those discussions around what makes you happy, what makes you proud, what do you do well, to sort of filter some of those into the course discussion night. And remember, course discussion is a really great opportunity for you to start that conversation about with your student about what classes are they going to take next year and what's important to them. I want to thank you very much for joining me today to talk about ways that you can help your student find gratitude in their life. Tomorrow we will talk about, let me just go all the way down to it, the changing relationship between adults and teens in high school, because believe me, you're going from manager to mentor, and things change. I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great day and a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.